Hello there, this is a video on the 2 Strat copies I got in trade for my Flying V. This is an Aiersi, I believe it's pronounced, Strat copy. It's got a really nice, all natural back and sides and satin finish neck. It's unbranded on the back. It appears to be, I believe it's 1, 2, 3... I believe it's a 3-piece body. I can see, on the joints I can see it appears to be 3-piece. It's got the thin zinc trem block and the cheap trem you would assume that you would expect to find on this sort of guitar. It's got 3 single coil pickups which are ceramic. It's got really small chickpea potentiometers that have just got CF written on them. So I'm not sure if they're 500k or 250. If they're 500k, I would move them down to 250 because it's slightly scratchy with the ceramic pickups. 5-way switch, you know how Strat works. It's, you know, all that, these two, that, you know, all that gubbins, easy. The only thing I've changed so far on this is I took the plastic knob off and I put a little bit of contact cleaner just in the top of the pot, just in where the swivelly bit is, and just move it around like that, and it makes it a lot less goopy as you get on cheap pots. So I've done that to make it nice and smooth so I can roll off the volume easy. Let's see, when I got this, the pickup this side was pushed in, so I just removed the spring because it's had a bang at some point and it's basically sheared the hole. So I've just taken the spring out and now the pickup moves slightly. You know what, it stays up and it stays level, so I'm happy. The other thing is the tuners, because this came with perfectly reasonable tuners, perfectly fine. However, they were chrome. And I just, why wouldn't you want black with the maple and the black pick guard? I think it just looks really, look at that, it looks really classy. It looks like it was meant to be. So those are the only mods I've done to this guitar. Apart from that, I've just taken it apart and cleaned it and, you know, then set it up how I like. But the strings are still the same old strings I got in it. The first thing I think I should really note, in my opinion, about this guitar is that it feels a lot like my Stratocaster. The neck feels the same. It's got the same fret width. It's got the same profile when I grab it at the back of the neck. The only thing that makes this, in my opinion, slightly nicer to play is the bridge, because I swapped over the bridge on my Stratocaster in favour of a Wilkinson one because I got it on eBay on 12 quid and I thought, well, that'll be fine. But the string spacing is a bit... On the other hand, this has the original bridge on it, which is, I believe, 52mm spaced rather than the 54 the Wilkinson one is. And everything lines up nicely. The nut is quite nice and neatly, quite well cut. To be fair, I can't say much about the factory quality control on this, purely because it's a second-hand guitar and it could well be that the nut was awful and it's been recut and, you know, etc, etc. So I can't draw too many conclusions about the quality of quality control from Aiersi. However, what I will say is this guitar is really quite heavy, not quite as heavy as the Stratocaster, but it is really quite a heavy guitar. And I would say that the tone is really quite nice. They're quite impressive pickups. They're obviously the inexpensive ceramic pickups you get from the Far East. So along with that, there will be ceramic magnet, because it's cheap for them to do. It's just glued to the bottom of the magnet. Unstaggered poles, which, you know, that's more of a style thing, to be honest. I don't think it makes that much of an impact on the sound as much as people believe. It's not the mark of a good or bad pickup. I'd say they're slightly weak and they sound slightly thin in the same way that a lot of Strat copy pickups do. In the same way the Epiphone stock pickups, to me, sound a bit high output and a bit thin, not sort of rich or big sounding. So they sound a bit thin because of the high output. You can, with humbuckers, you can get around that by taking the cover off or changing the capacitor. Things like that, or just, I mean, upgrading to a different quality capacitor, not just messing around with the value. But with Strat pickups, they've got covers on them, which makes them a bit more difficult to deal with. So I bought a wiring loom online, a proper professional one, CTS pots and a nice 5-way switch. I've got a load of Switchcraft jacks as well. I'm going to throw one of them in. And I was going to put them on my Encore, which you've seen me tear down. However, because the weird spec of the pickguard and other things, it's not going to work out like that. I'm going to have to keep that as HSS or humbucker in 2 singles. So they're probably going to end up in this. How that will affect the tone I can't tell you. I've also got some single cord pickups, nickel ones I bought online, that I will be swapping most likely into this if I can't just change the capacitor and get this to sound the way I like it, because I like these pickups already. But anyway, enough of my yakking. I'm pretty happy with how it is as an inexpensive Strat copy. I'm really impressed with the way it plays and the way it feels. It actually sounds like a Strat. For a cheap Strat, for an inexpensive Strat, to sound actually like a Strat is really quite a feat within itself. I haven't played many that have actually felt and sounded damn near close enough. I mean, if you turn to an open mic night, it will do. So I'm going to take you through some sounds now. Bear in mind that this is not a shielded guitar. There is no shielding on this, especially around the pickups. It's just completely plastic. So you probably will get some background noise from computer or from power lines or something. Something is going to have some interference. Okay, so I'm running it through my little Marshall MG series. I've turned the bass down because sometimes I find that these guitars can be a little bit thin, but there's a lot of bass in there. So if you roll the bass off, it gives you more scope to boost the treble, boost the mids and take the treble down and EQ it a bit friendlier for gigging. So I'm going to start with the neck pickup and just play some simple stuff and then go through all 5 positions. Okay. Position 2. It's quite funky, this one. You can hear that noise go away. So there we go. I hope those sound clips came through alright. I really like this guitar because my Flying V basically was so nice, I wasn't playing it, and to have a couple of Strat copies that feel really good, which is the most important thing to me. It feels satisfying to play when you hit a note, you can feel it resonate, and it's just, even if you're fighting it slightly, it's just, yeah, you know. To have a cheap Strat copy that I'd feel okay taking down a pub for an open mic night or something, it's great. It gives me that freedom that I feel I didn't have before. So, to have an inexpensive Strat copy where the fret ends don't murder your fingers, it's all appointed really nicely, apart from the pickup covers, which look a bit matte black and not really shiny, and I'm not really a fan of those, so I've ordered some shiny ones from China for, you know, like £1 or something silly. Apart from that, I really can't fault it. There's nothing wrong with the jack socket. All the knobs work. The switch feels solid and works perfectly fine. Again, I only changed the tuners because I think the black ones look nice and they work really well with the black pickguard. It's amazing the quality you can get with inexpensive guitars now. I'm actually blown away by how good this is, and it cost me the equivalent of 50 quid. Because I ended up with this guitar, I ended up with the Encore guitar, and I ended up with a pedal TC Spark Mini and a little bit of cash. So I've done alright out of it, and I'm really, really impressed with how nice this looks. I mean, this is a veneer, even if it's a photo frame. I don't think it is, I'm pretty sure it is a veneer. It's really difficult to get the veneer to stick to the edges of guitar. It simply won't do it unless you do it properly in a certain way. Because I wanted my Charvel Model 2 to get a veneer on it, and it just wasn't going to happen. The guy couldn't get it to work. So to have little things like that, I think it shows they've put an element of thought into the design of this guitar. The fact that the tuners aren't the cheap ones, they are the ones that came with the, you know, single screw, so you can swap them out for Warman locking tuners or Grovers or Spurzels or whatever, you know, with that screw pattern. It's great that you can just swap them out straight away. And I love that. The nuts cut nicely, there's not a lot of fret wear, the fingerboard's nice and clean, the frets aren't too small, the string spacing's right, everything on this guitar just feels great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Again, it feels a little bit thin, a little bit held back, but I think if I block the trem, because again it's got the cheap zinc block anyway, the thin one, if I block this off to keep it in tune better, and then upgrade the capacitor, I'd be happy to take this to a gig. It'd be great. Maybe get it shielded as well, to be fair. But no, that's my take on the Aiersi Strat copy. I've never heard of them before. This is the only one I've ever seen of theirs, but it feels very much like the Ratocaster, so I'm wondering where it was made. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to try one of these guitars, I highly recommend you give it a go, especially for the price. I don't think you can really go wrong. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this has been helpful. Leave any questions in the comments. Thanks a lot. Bye.